behind on these terms. There's a few of them that probably a class below, a couple of classes below the ones that set the standard.
That's most of the field then for the upcoming Fairmont Molecomb Stakes. We didn't see Stormflower, we didn't get a chance to see Kachy. The latter went down just a little ahead of the others.
Yeah, King of Rooks is well backed here. Even money was 6-5, 4-1 Kachy. Rouleau is 15-2, 8-1 Latham. Mahada Thart 9-1, 20s Kachy, Field Division 20s, 33s bar those.
So the runners make their way down to the 5 furlong starting point for the Group 3 Fairmont Molecomb Stakes. There is Kachy on his way down to the start. We didn't get to see him in the parade ring a moment or two ago. He's a 20-1 chance, going down just a little bit keenly. He made the perfect start to his career and was quite impressive in his own way on debut, but then finished well behind, 16 lengths to be precise, behind King of Rooks in the National Stakes, and we haven't seen him since.
Yeah, that was maybe just a little bit too much too soon for him. I did get a look at him in the paddock, and he's a nice enough type, but he still looked green. He was having a good look around. It's a while since he's been on the track. He's still probably learning, but he did look fairly useful when making a winning debut. He looked good that day at Leicester. The second and fourth horses from the race came out and won on the back of that. He was up straight in grade at Sandown, but like a few, he failed to give his running in that race. But that was the case for several of them, and they've come out and done better since. So he's definitely not one that I'd be putting a complete line through of those the bigger prices, because I think that was a promising debut effort. I'd just be a little bit concerned that he still did look a little bit green in the prelims, and he's probably still got a little bit more growing up to do. The other point to make about him is that the form of the stable in the early part of the year wasn't red hot, and he's had a break. He comes back with them in better form. He's, as I say, the one at bigger odds that I could see going quite well without being quite good enough to win, perhaps.
20-1 generally on course at present. A key. Can we talk about the draw?
Yep.
Because we've got King of Rooks in stall 1, which is going to be out towards the centre. Conversely, you've got the likes of Rouleau in 11 and Mahada Thart in 10, fairly close to the stand-side running rail, and you imagine going forward from an early stage.
Yeah, I imagine that with it being a 2-year-old race, they might come towards this stands rail, but I don't actually think that's the place to be.
Okay.
So if King of Rooks is more towards the centre of the track, I think that would actually be in his favour rather than being hard against the rail. That's based on the evidence of yesterday and the sprint handicap, where the horses that were in the lower draws came to the fore, and the only one from a high draw that got involved was the horse who was switched right off the stands rail to the centre of the track and ran on. It seemed to me like it was a big advantage to be in the centre of the track. Now, I was surprised in the maiden after that they all came to this part of the track, and the winner ended up on the rail in a good, in a forward position to make most of the running and take that contest, the maiden contest yesterday. But I think that was just because they were 2-year-olds, they wanted to get across to the rail. If you'd have just looked at the previous evidence, if that had been another sprint handicap, I'm sure that they would have gone down the centre of the track. Again, with them being 2-year-olds, they might end up coming towards the stand side, but being on the wing of the group might not be a bad thing.
Even money generally. King of Rooks, a 4-1 bar the one. Kachy's price has been holding up. He seems to have been one of the few positives against the short price favourite in this race. Is that something that's been reflected from what you've seen, Dave?
Yeah, the market hasn't really moved. I've had a couple of the bookies reps, or one in particular, trying to tell me that the Channel 4 racers, sorry, I know we're on opposing channels, the Channel 4 racers have got multiples running up, but they're very short, and they weren't exactly standing out on this horse. But King of Rooks, he is shorter than he was this morning. He was around about 11-8 top price and traded at 2.35 on exchanges. You won't get that now, but he's only 6-5 on the exchanges. Kachy has just held its price all day. It's been the same solid price. I know Michael Owen's here to support it, and they did fancy it when it won on its debut in a good race at at Chester. So the market is really all about those two, and endorse Chris's point about the low draw. Certainly for the favourite, it seems, I think the two straight course tracks were both won by horses drawn stall 2. I know they raced in different parts of the track, but it seems if you are out on the outside, you haven't got much chance, and there's not many horses that certainly the horse that he beat, Muthadath, who's drawn 10, doesn't seem to be attracting much support. I think bookies will be happy if they can get this one beat, and then they certainly won't go home losing. But if it wins, fair play. It looks like a lot of punters have got a relatively short price travel up.
Loading process underway for the Group 3 Fairmont Molecomb Stakes. 11-10 King of Rooks, Kachy 4-1. Latham is a 15-2 chance, same price as Rouleau. And Muhadath at 10s and 20-1 bar those. So to pull all the threads together, Chris.
King of Rooks sets the standard and will be pretty hard to beat. Latham, who you mentioned was attracting a bit of money, very different test to Newbury, smaller field, much sharper track. He looked like a horse that saw his race out really well last time out. Kachy I was very impressed with first time up. Beat Muhadath and other horses with experience who had winning form already in the book despite being inexperienced, and cruised through that race. I thought it was a really taking display. He could be an improver. Rouleau looked a picture in the paddock, really nice type. The draw might not be ideal, but he's progressing and shouldn't be inconvenienced by the shorter trip. Kachy, one that could improve for the yard that won the race last year, but it would take a big jump forward for him to be winning this.
Last ones are coming forward, last couple indeed. Walking in, let's go to Richard.
Fairmont Molecomb Stakes, 5 furlongs. Speedy juveniles, they're released and they're off. And from the stalls, Rouleau breaks out well under the near side rail. Towards the centre of the course, Latham shows up with Pity Cash. King of Rooks at this stage, maroon cap out towards the centre of the racecourse as Muhadath and Kachy come to join Rouleau and Pity Cash. Then a wave of 6 in behind those, Kachy in the orange sleeves from Latham. Also in that little cluster, Princess Codia. Stormflower at this stage, King of Rooks right towards the back of the field, but still well in touch as they make their way on down towards halfway. Rouleau in the blue, Muhadath yellow and blue, Pity Cash red and yellow. Now King of Rooks looks menacing, right on the outside, beginning to improve. Latham trying to pick his way through. Kachy still travels okay under the near side rail. Muhadath, Latham, King of Rooks, Kachy under the near side rail. They enter the final furlong. Rouleau, Muhadath, King of Rooks and Kachy 4 wide in the Molecomb, driving for the line. Kachy under the near side rail. King of Rooks out in the centre. It's Kachy and King of Rooks. Kachy in front, and it's Kachy. 2 out of 2 win the Molecomb. Kachy beat King of Rooks. Type for third, Latham, Muhadath, and between that pair, Rouleau.
No catching Kachy, who wins the Group 3 Fairmont Molecomb Stakes and remains unbeaten, 2 out of 2, coming into this race on the back of a debut success, beating Muhadath when receiving weight from that rival around the tight turns of Chester. A very different test today, not only in terms of configuration of the track, but in terms of quality. Kachy has come through it with flying colours for Tom Dascombe and Richard Kingscote, beating King of Rooks. It's officially a photograph for third. It would seem, Chris, as though Tom Dascombe and the team have got a smart 2-year-old on their hands here in the shape of Kachy.
Very much so. Group 3 winner at the second time of asking, always travelled smoothly and builds on an impressive debut success to go 2 from 2. And against this near side rail has shown lots of pace, travelled nicely and kept on well to hold off the challenge of King of Rooks out in the centre of the track, who was a fair way back early on, but threw down the challenge and wasn't good enough to get past the winner, who's improving all the time.
Rouleau was third, Muhadath fourth. Rouleau bustled up, positively ridden, unsurprisingly dropping back in trip. Muhadath was half missing it slightly and had to be driven through the first 100 yards or so, but soon has a handy position. King of Rooks travelled well towards the halfway point.